Hello everyone. In the previous class, we have discussed about the resistivity, temperature dependence of resistivity and color coding of commercial resistances. Today, we are going to derive Ohm's law with the help of metallic theory of conduction. So, let us start and suppose that it is a conductor of cross section area A, the length is L, and it is connected with the source of EMF which produces an electric field E between the ends of conductor. The potential difference between the ends is V. So we know that if this electric field is not applied, or you can say that the wire or the conductor is not connected to a source of EMF, so in that case electric field will be zero and the free electrons inside it will perform random motion. And consider that random velocity is V0. So if V0 is the average velocity of the electrons, then we know that in absence of this electric field, the net average velocity of the electrons in any direction is zero, and hence there is no current inside the conductor. Now, as the field is applied, so the free electrons will experience a force in the opposite direction of this electric field, and this force can be written as QE or small e into E, because you know that E is the charge on an electron. So I can write my force as mass into acceleration from Newton's second law, and that will give me the acceleration that will start working on the free electrons of the conductor. So all the electrons will now move in the opposite direction of electric field, and the acceleration exerted by electric field is this one. And we know that in presence of electric field, the net average velocity in any direction is not zero. Basically, in presence of electric field, the electron gets an average velocity, and that is called the drift velocity. So consider that we are having n number of electrons per unit volume in this conductor, and u1, u2 and u3 up to n are the initial velocities of the electrons, and I will take v1, v2 and v3 up to vn are the final velocities after time say tau. Then from the first equation of motion I can write v equals to u plus at. So this is the final velocity of one electron. For the first electron, I will take the initial velocity as v1, the acceleration is a, and the time is the collision time. So I am taking it as tau1. Similarly, I can write it for the next one too, and this is for the nth electron. So as per the definition of the drift velocity, it is the average velocity gained by an electron. So I will get the average, and that average is basically the drift velocity, and that can be easily found by taking the average of all these final velocities. So if I will simplify it, I can put the values of v1, v2, v3 and so on, and on simplifying I can write it like this one, plus a will be common in all, so I can write this is tau1 plus tau2, and this is 1. If you will see this, these were the velocities when there was no electric field. So we know that in absence of electric field, the average velocity of the electrons is 0. So this term will become 0, and this is acceleration a, and this is the average collision time, and this is called relaxation time. So I will write it as tau. So this equation turns to Vd equals to a tau. Now a is the acceleration, and we have the value of a over here, so I will put the value of a in that equation and we will get Vd as A was QE by M into tau, or if I will write the charge as a small e, so this is going to be small e capital E by M into tau. I can also write it in vector form as Vd equals to EE by M into tau, as this is the electric field, a vector quantity, and this is the drift velocity. It is a vector quantity, so this is a vector form. And once again, you know that E is defined by V by L. This is the potential gradient across the ends of this wire. So if I will replace it E by V by L, so I will have a new formula of drift velocity, and that will be E by M. This is going to be V by L into tau in magnitude. So these are the two relations that relates drift velocity with field and the drift velocity with the potential difference across the conductor. So in the previous classes we have discussed that I equals to NEA Vd. That was the relation between current and drift velocity. So I am having the value of drift velocity, so I can replace it and I can get I equals NEA, and the Vd is E by M, and this is V by L, and this is tau. So if I will simplify it, and if I need the value of V by I from here, so if you will simplify, you will get ML divided by N. This will become E square A tau, and that equals to V by R. Now there is an important thing to note, that this is the mass of electron, length is the length of conductor, N is number of electrons per unit volume, E is charge, A is cross section area, and tau is the relaxation time. Now if I will keep my temperature constant, then nothing will change here, or you can say that all parameters will remain constant. So at constant temperature, if I will talk about constant temperature, then this term is going to be a constant. So I can write that V by I will also be a constant for constant temperature. And we know that if V by I is constant, I can write V directly proportional I, and that is the statement of Ohm's law. So in this way we can derive the Ohm's law with the help of metallic theory of conduction. So we have discussed that the ratio of V to I was ML divided by NE square A tau, and we know that this ratio is nothing but the resistance of the wire. So this is my resistance, I will write it here, and I will write like M by NE square tau and L by A, and it is very clear from this equation that at constant temperature this is not going to be changed, and the resistance is proportional to the length, and resistance is inversely proportional to the cross section area of the wire. Now I can also compare this with the previous relation, that was the relation between resistance and the resistivity, and if you will compare it, you will get the resistivity in terms of concentration or the relaxation time, and this is going to be M by NE square tau, and this is very clear that there is no term that contains length of the conductor or the area of the conductor. It means the resistivity is independent of the length and the cross section area of the wire. In fact, it depends only on two factors, and the factors are that it depends on the charge concentration, or you can say the number of electrons per unit volume, and the relaxation time, and that is purely the property of the material. So resistivity does not depend on length, does not depend on the area. Now we know that the conductivity of a conductor is due to the mobile charges inside it, Mobile means the charges that can move freely inside the conductor. For an example, if I will take the example of metal, then there are free electrons that behave like a mobile charge. In case of electrolyte, these are positive ions and the negative ions. And in case of semiconductor, they are electrons and holes. So, I can define a term that is called the mobility. And the mobility is defined as the drift velocity acquired by a charge carrier in unit field or by unit field. So I can define mathematically as mobility is drift velocity per unit field. I will take the magnitude of electric field over here. So this is the mobility of a charge carrier. Now, since we have the value of Vd in the previous derivation, and that was Qe by m into tau, where Q was the charge on the carrier. So if I will put the value of Vd here, I will get the mobility as Q by m into tau. So this is the mobility in terms of relaxation time. And if I will consider the case of electron, then I can write the mobility of electron as this is the charge on the electron, that is E, this is the mass of electron. So I will write Me, and this will be the relaxation time for the electron. So I will write that tau E. So for electron, we can write the mobility as like this. Now, also we have discussed the relation between current and drift velocity, and that was NEA I told you. From here we can find out the value of Vd as mu times E. So I will put the value here and I will get NEA. This is mobility and this is electric field. So this is the relation between mobility and the current. Now, for an example, suppose I am considering a semiconductor. So we know that a semiconductor contains electrons as well as holes, and the current is due to both electrons and holes. So I can summarize the current as it is the current due to hole plus current due to electrons. So if I will write this equation for electrons, I will write the N, that is the concentration of electrons, E charge, A area, this is the mobility for electrons, and this is electric field. I will also write it like Ne because it is the concentration of electron that may be different than the holes. And for holes I can write this is the concentration of holes into charge, area, mobility of holes, and electric field. So if I will summarize it, I will get Ne, this is mu E, and this is the plus, this is NH, mu H, and this is Ke. So this is the total current for a semiconductor which contains electrons as well as holes. Now we will discuss more about circuits. We know that if I need to flow the current in a conductor, I need to connect it with a source. So the influence that makes the flow of current from lower potential to higher potential in a circuit is called source of EMF or electromotive force. Technically, we can define the source of EMF as the maximum potential difference between the two electrodes of cell when no current is drawn from the cell. Or in other words, we can say that any closed loop that contains a steady current contains resistors, connecting wires, and a source that provides the EMF. So it is the work done by the cell in carrying a unit charge throughout the circuit, including the cell, and its unit is volt, since it is the work done per unit charge. So this is the idea of electromotive force or the EMF of the cell. On the other hand, if I need to define the terminal potential difference, then it is the potential drop across the terminals of the cell when a current is being drawn from it. And remember that the potential difference across a real source in a circuit is not equal to the EMF of the source. And the reason is that the charge moving through the material of any real source encounters a resistance, and this resistance is called internal resistance. So we can understand this situation like, if it is a circuit and this is a source of EMF, consider the EMF of this cell is E and it is connected with a resistance R. This is the positive potential, this is negative potential. So in the external circuit, the current flows from higher potential to lower potential like this, but inside this cell, the positive charge moves from lower potential to higher potential against the other ions and the electrolytes of the cell. So the electrolyte of the cell offers a resistance in the flow of charge inside the cell, and we will name this resistance that exists inside the cell as internal resistance of the cell. So every cell has some internal resistance, and I will denote this internal resistance with a resistance symbol, and that includes inside this bracket, and this tells that this internal resistance, let me denote it by small r, is the resistance of the cell, not the resistance exerted in external circuit. So there is a difference between this resistance and this one. This is the resistance that we apply in the circuit to flow the current, and this is the resistance that the electrolyte of this cell offers. So there are some important properties of this internal resistance of the cell, and that are that internal resistance depends on the nature of electrolyte of the cell. The second one, that this internal resistance is proportional to the separation between the plates. It means that if the plates of the cells are being close to each other, then the internal resistance will be low, and if the plates are far away from each other, the internal resistance will be high. The internal resistance is inversely proportional to the common area of electrodes inside the electrolyte. So if more is the area inside the electrolyte, small is the internal resistance of the cell, and the internal resistance increases with the increase in temperature of the cell. So these are the basic properties of the internal resistance of the cell. Now we will establish a relationship between the terminal potential difference, and terminal potential difference means that suppose we have 2 points, this is AB, so the potential difference across these 2 points is the potential difference. Now inside these 2 points we have a battery that offers an internal resistance R, and I is the current in this circuit, and that is steady current. So if this is resistance and it follows Ohm's law, then it will be constant irrespective of the current in the circuit. So suppose that current flows from B to A, and when this current flows through this internal resistance R, it will experience a drop of potential IR inside the cell. Now the total EMF of the cell is E, and that is the drop inside the cell due to this internal resistance. So the remaining potential is E minus IR. Means E was the EMF, IR was the drop inside the cell. So the remaining is E minus IR, and this is called the terminal potential difference between the ends of the cell. So this is the relation between the terminal potential difference and the EMF of the cell, and it is very clear that if I is not equal to 0, means the current is not 0 in this circuit, then VAB is less than E. It means the terminal potential difference across the ends of the cell is less than the EMF of the cell. But what if the current is 0, and it means it is an open circuit. So if it is an open circuit, means current is 0, then there will be no drop inside the cell due to the internal resistance, and in that case the terminal potential difference will be equal to the EMF of the cell. So this is the condition under which the terminal potential difference is same as the EMF of the cell, and that is happens when current is 0, or you can say it is a case of open circuit. Now another thing is that if I will take an ideal cell, so an ideal cell is the cell which don't have any internal resistance. So for ideal cell there will be no R, or you can say the R will be 0 for the case of ideal cell, and if you will put R as 0, VAB will be equal to E. So for the ideal cell we can say that yes, potential difference across its terminal is equal to the EMF of the cell, but in real situations it is the open circuit when terminal potential difference across the ends of the cell is equal to the EMF of the cell. Now if I will move further, I can write this equation as VAB, or simply I will write it as V. This is E minus IR. If you will look at these 2 points, that is C and D, so I can find out the potential difference between C and D, and that is simply by the using Ohm's law, and that is IR, because I is the current and R is the resistance. So this is the potential drop across this resistance, and it is very clear that these 2 points AB and CD are in parallel combination. If you will see on in parallel combination, the potential difference are same, so I can write it also as V. And what I am going to do is I am going to divide the equation number 1 by V. So if I will divide the equation number 1 by V, I will get V by V equals E by V minus IR by V. This is going to be 1. So this is E by V minus IR, and the value of capital V is I capital R. So this I cancelled out, and on simplifying, if I will take it in the left hand side and then shift 1 on the other side, I will get small r by capital R as E by V minus 1, which on simplifying gives me small r as capital R E by V minus 1, and this is the relation between the internal resistance and the external resistance of the cell for such kind of simple circuit. Now, if you can remember the very first equation, and that was V equals E minus IR, and V was the terminal potential difference, and I told you that the terminal potential difference between A and B is same as the terminal potential difference between C and D. So I can write it as IR equals E minus IR. So if I will simplify it, I can get I capital R plus small r as E, and which gives me current as EMF divided by the net resistance of the circuit. As you can see, this is the external resistance and this is the internal resistance, and these two are in series. So this is the net resistance offered by this circuit. So I can write that current is net EMF divided by net resistance, and that is the simple definition. Now I am interested in making the graph of variation of E with these terms and the terminal potential difference with external resistance R. So first of all we will discuss the graph of E versus R, and as I told you that this is the EMF of the cell and that is completely independent of the external resistance. So as E is not depending on R, so I can draw the variation as whatever is the value of R, whether it will increase or decrease, the E will remain constant. So there will be no change in the value of E with change in external resistance. But now if I am interested in the variation of terminal potential difference with external resistance, definitely this external resistance will affect this V, and it can be summarized by the equation that for this external resistance I can write V as I into R. This is the potential drop across this external resistance, and we have the value of I as E by R plus R, that is the net resistance, multiplied by R. If you will simplify it, I can write it like V equals E by 1 plus small r by capital R. Now as you can see that if you will increase R, definitely V will increase, and if you will decrease R, definitely V will decrease. Now if you will see some important conditions, that if my R tends to 0, so in that case your V is almost 0, or you can say it tends to 0. It means that if the external resistance is almost 0, there is no potential difference across this resistance. And the second one, that if I will take that my resistance is almost going to infinity, it means it is a very large resistance. So in that case the terminal potential difference is almost equal to EMF of the cell. And let us take an intermediate position in which I will take that if my capital R is equal to small r, so in that case P will be equal to E by 2. That is the half of the EMF of the cell. So I can plot a variation of V with R with respect to P conditions like this, that if this is my external resistance R, so initially when R is almost 0, the potential is 0, so the graph will start from here and it will go like this. This is the maximum value of EMF, and that is equal to when R is going to infinity. This is V, and when your small r is capital R, and V is E by 2, so it will be something like midway like this. This is your E by 2 when internal resistance is equal to the external resistance. So this is the variation of V with respect to external resistance R.